What's it like building a true breakthrough brand as a high ticket coach, consultant, or expert? Today's episode is going to be a little bit different because what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of the behind the scenes behind my program, Breakthrough Brand Message, and what it's about, how it works, and a little bit of like how it came to be as well. Because if you're a high ticket coach and you're really looking to build a business that feels like everything flows, that feels like it's in alignment, that feels like you're attracting the right people, that it's converting, that you feel really lit up with your business, there has to be a way of doing things that is really different. You know, the typical approaches that most people are focused on and this industry has been teaching on since I came around in 2016 at least, it's kind of dated now. It hasn't really aged that well. It doesn't work in the same way. And so you have to figure out how to do things in a way that feels really aligned for you, that feels good, that feels powerful, that feels empowering, that feels like you're lifting the conversation up, not bringing it down by using pain agitation and pain marketing and all of these different things that just feel like like they don't really work that much. And so a lot of the work that we do focuses on really going deeper into figuring out what you want to say, why that matters to you, and how to say things in a way that really allows you to connect with people. So before I jump in, let me tell you a little bit of backstory behind how I started Breakthrough Brand and how all of this happened. So, I started my business in 2016. I'm not going to go too much into the details of how that happened on today's episode, at least. But I started my business in 2016 and I started my business doing one-on-one coaching. At the time, it was mostly brand design and web design. And obviously, as I got deeper and deeper into the work that I do, it started evolving more and more into talking about messaging. I've always done messaging from the beginning anyways, even when I was doing brand design, because that is kind of where my background comes from. I did an MBA, I had a specialization in branding. So there was a lot of things that I already had a lot of curiosity around. But in the very beginning, I didn't feel like I had, I guess, the expertise. I mean, I did have the expertise, but I felt like I did not have the maturity yet to have a group coaching program. So when I started my online business in 2016, it was a one-on-one program. And so I would work with clients, we would work on their messaging, we would help them with a lot of clarity in terms of what they wanted to communicate. From the very beginning, I used to do something that I call a brand strategy book, which is like a book that brings all of your messaging together. So that's something that I did even before I was actually even doing messaging. It was like design work, even back when I was in Venezuela, doing like literal design work for musicians and artists and all of that. I still would do these brand books for them. So that's what I did when I came here in 2016. I started focusing on doing these brand books that brought in messaging. Obviously, that brand book, the original one, looks very, very different from the ones that I do today, which are much more, like much deeper, but that's another topic for another day. So in 2018, I got to a point where I had taken on enough clients that I knew that I had something to offer that was really different. So that is when I launched and created Breakthrough Brand for the first time. That launch was pretty insane. It was a pretty crazy funnel. I had a quiz that took people to a 5-day challenge, I believe, that then took them to a webinar, then took them to enroll into the program. So it was very in-depth. There was a lot of different pieces in that funnel. And the program was very different than what it looks like today. It was a program that was much more foundational messaging work because that's probably where I was at the time, right? When I look back at even the videos and the things that I was teaching, it was very foundational. Like, let's find out demographics, let's do ideal client avatar exercises, let's really like figure out your offer, your framework, things like that from a very much like foundational messaging base. And so I did a Breakthrough Brand like that in 2018, all the way until 2022. In 2022, my message had really evolved, obviously, like as it does and as it should, right? And so there was a lot of different things that I was doing by then that really were at a different level. I had a bigger understanding of audience and their needs. I had a bigger understanding of how to communicate. I made a big shift because in the beginning, I was doing pain marketing. I was doing a lot of agitation and problem messaging and pain, like, the whole thing that the industry has taught us. And so I was teaching that too to my clients, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, this is kind of what happens as you learn, right? And so by 2020, I realized that I wasn't going to do that anymore. Probably actually this happened in 2021. So I shifted my messaging and I started focusing more on speaking to buyers. Like, what does it take to speak to a buyer? How do I do messaging in a way that doesn't agitate pain? And how do I speak to people in a way that really brings them in? And that speaks to the buyers, right? Like the ready to invest people, the people that are action takers, the people that are not like, falling apart, my life isn't working, everything is horrible. I don't want that audience. So essentially, I shifted my messaging to really create more of that. So what that meant is that in 2021, I re-recorded almost the entire program. Now, what is the good thing though, is that whenever somebody joins my program, they have lifetime access to it. So even if you join right now, you're going to have lifetime access to it, which probably in any other program would be very like meaningless, because it would be like, okay, great, maybe this is going to change once. There's programs that I've been in that have not been changed once in 8 years, right? Whereas with me, as I evolve and as messaging evolves, I will be adding things to it. So I re-recorded most of the program in 2022. Especially the audience lessons. I moved away from being that foundational ideal client avatar exercises and went deeper into how do we speak to buyers. And so what happened, and which probably a lot of you don't necessarily know, is that now my whole brand is about building an angle of mastery. And so what happened is that as I went deeper into understanding how to speak to buyers, I realized that the audience portion of that was one piece, but the messaging, like the actual core message, was another different thing. So what I mean with that is that it's one thing for you to understand how to speak to buyers. It's another one to really convert those people into clients, right? This is why when people go in and listen sometimes to my free content, or, think that they understand it and they shift their website copy or their ad landing page and think, okay, well, now I'm not using pain language or whatever. They think that that's enough. It really doesn't necessarily work alone, because that's one piece of the equation. The other piece of the equation is, well, then how do we convert these buyers into clients? So in 2023, about a year ago, as of this recording, I was in Colombia in the middle of like one of the most overwhelmed moments that I've been in my life. My parents had both undergone surgery. My dad had a kidney transplant. My mom was the donor. My husband had to travel to Venezuela, and I was alone in a house in the mountains in Colombia. I'm from Venezuela, but that's a whole other story. With my 3 kids. I was alone with my 3 kids. My husband's in Venezuela renewing his passport. My parents are recovering from surgery, both of them in a different city. And I'm alone, super overwhelmed, dealing with a lot of different things. And all of a sudden, I'm in the park pushing like my daughter in the swing. And I get the idea of angle of mastery. And I start recording voice notes in my phone. And it was this like massive download and this understanding of there's something more that's needed. And it's the angle of mastery. And the idea behind it is really clarifying what makes you unique and what is your big idea, and going really deep to how to communicate your expertise in a way that captivates your audience. So from that moment, and this was July 2023, so not even a year ago, actually, from that moment, I went extremely deep into this like rabbit hole of what is the angle of mastery? How do you communicate? What do you do with it? How do you bring it forward? How does this work for every business? How do you turn this into a framework? So what that has meant is that I've spent almost the last year really refining this process, which also meant that in 2020, December, end of 2023, literally a few months ago, I once again recorded almost the entire program over, because now that I had this lens, I understood that there were things that I really needed to incorporate into messaging that would make things just take off. So I recorded a whole entire module around the angle of mastery. A lot of like the content videos and the messaging videos, like for example, the webinar videos and how to create content now had the lens of angle of mastery as well. So I had to record a lot of different things as I went deeper into understanding these concepts and implementing them into my own business, but then helping my clients implement them as well. And so what has happened for all of us has been really powerful. So for me, my business is really transformed, especially since I incorporated the angle of mastery into the program. It's been massive. Like the differences and the things that have happened have really been impressive, of the quality of people that I attract how easy people convert as opposed to before where it took a lot of work, how easier it is to build that demand, to get people to really understand the value behind what I'm selling before I've even told them the details of the offer. And so there's been a lot of really powerful changes within my own business, but then within our clients, I've seen results in the last few months that I've never seen before at the level that I've seen before, like people that are really making massive internal and external changes. So when I say that, what I mean is the identity shifts that are necessary for you to really step into your message. That's not something that necessarily is, I think that it's something intangible, but that I feel like matters more sometimes than the financial results, because actually those are the things that create the financial results, right? Like that internal identity shift of like really stepping into, I am this leader and this is my message and this is why my message matters and this is why my voice matters and here's why I matter. And so when you're showing up from that energy into your content creation, into your website, your emails that you're sending out, your videos that you're creating, your podcast, like whatever you're doing, it really changes the vibration, the frequency of all the things that you're doing. So the quality of the people that you attract are just at a different level. So this is one of those things that I feel like has been really powerful. But then obviously for my clients, the external shifts have been really impressive too, like massive results. Like one of my clients, for example, went from having an offer just 18 months ago that she was selling for $500 to signing a 20K client. I have another client who had spent months without making a sale to raising her prices and enrolling her first 14K client. So I have people like really making these financial shifts that are massive, but really it's the internal ones that for me are really, really powerful, both for them and for me. And so for me, what this program is really about is finding your message and the message that really matters to you and uncovering what you want to be known for, right? And so this isn't like your basic, again, like I said before, your basic, ideal client avatar little exercise where I'm going to walk you through all of the pretty little things that you can do to, find like if your audience were a food item, what type of food would they be? Or, like those random workbooks that are like completely useless afterwards. This is the deep process, like a very, very deep process where we're really going deep to understand who you are, what you stand for, what you believe in, who your audience is. Like not your like, yeah, my audience is. It's like, no. Who are the people that you're meant to lead? Who are the people that you're meant to serve? How do they want to be coached? How do they want to be led? How do they want to be served? And how can you create that content that really brings them in and that like calls them into you and brings them into like, because you're communicating from heart and from the things that really matter to you. And it's like, that is the work that we do. It's that deep process of understanding the psychology behind buyers, like what makes somebody buy and why is this audience, like, why does this person have the problem that you're great at solving? And why does this other person have the problem? Why does this group buy and that group will never buy from you? And how do I make sure that I'm speaking to the ones that do buy? What do I need to shift in my messaging and in my content to make sure that I'm speaking to the buyers? I'm speaking to the doers, not the thinkers that are just like, sure, someday, one day. So it's that deeper layer. But then how do I really make my message so unique and different that there's literally no competition? It does not matter. Like it literally does not matter because what you do is so unique and so powerful and so just like, wow, that it literally does not matter. You're on your own category. You're the leader of your own category. And so that's the work that we're doing. It's this deep ongoing process of really helping you define what you're here to stand for. And so what that does is that it transforms your marketing. It transforms your sales processes. It transforms your visibility because you now have a message that you feel really connected to. And you're also speaking to the right people and you're communicating clearly why you and why this process is different. So all of these are the things that we really focus on in Breakthrough Brand. And so this is really something that for me truly, really matters. So I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of that behind the scenes story of how this came to be. I'll do another episode going deeper into some of the things that we learn and how the process works and why this is different and all of that. But I wanted to give you a little bit of the behind the scenes behind the program first and what we do. So if you're curious to find out a little bit more, what I want you to do is I'm going to give you a few different call to actions. I hope that you guys can survive on more than one call to action. The first thing is that if you want to know a little bit more about how to speak to buyers and our processes and how we really look at audience and even angle of mastery more, go to readytoinvestclients.com and sign up for my 20-minute masterclass that really explains this in much more detail and in a really powerful way. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that if you want to find out more about Breakthrough Brand and how the program works and all the structure of it, you're going to go to fabipaolini.com/BTB. I will make sure that I will leave you the links for all of this below so that it's easier for you to find. The third thing is that if you want me to take a close look at your messaging, your brand, how you're communicating, and all of the things so that I can give you a little bit of like, what are the blind spots that you don't have? And how do you improve your message so that you attract better quality leads? Go to fabipaolini.com/call or brandmessagesession.com. Again, the links are going to be below. Any questions that you have about Breakthrough Brand, please leave them below. I'm more than happy to respond and reply to any questions that you have about the program, about me, about the way that we do things. Make sure that you follow me everywhere as Fabi Paolini, that you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and you also follow me on Facebook as Fabi Paolini or Fabiana. You'll find the links below. Anyways, I hope this is helpful for you and gives you a little bit of an insight of the behind the scenes of Breakthrough Brand and the way that we work. And I will see you in another episode really soon. Bye.